to welcome Sarah King, our new Director of Governance and Resources, to our first Scrutiny Committee, and Anna Williams-Price as the Cabinet Member and as first Scrutiny Committee as well. I'll just read this part. Please note that today's meeting may be recorded. This recording will be broadcast on the authority's website and may be used for training purposes by the Democratic Services Department. All attendees will be in view of the camera, and by attending, you are consenting to being filmed until the possible use of these images and sound recordings being used as outlined above. First of all, item 1, apologies for absence. We've had apologies from Gary Thomas, who unfortunately has wrenched his back and can't sit for long periods of time, and Claire Payne, who's also not able to attend. I think everybody else is here. Item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No, none. So we now go on to the reports. And item 3 is the Asset Management Report 2324. To consider the attached report, pages 5 to 56. Anna is going to introduce this report and introduce the officers concerned. Over to you, Anna.
Thank you. Firstly, thank you for the introduction. I'm really honoured to take up the position of Cabinet Member for Governance and Resources, and I look forward to working with the Scrutiny Committee to hear and understand your views on how to improve performance within the corporate centre. As the Chair has confirmed, with me today we have Sarah King, our new Director of Governance and Resources, and also Ellis Cooper, Chief Executive. Specifically on the Asset Management Report 2324, this report will allow the committee to better understand the range of assets currently within the Council's portfolio and the opportunities and challenges within that portfolio, particularly in terms of impact on budget. As members will see, there are specific issues in relation to property maintenance which need to be considered. The Asset Management Plan was agreed by full Council in June 2023, and Appendix 1 provides action updates with KPIs at Appendix 2. For clarity, political responsibility for the Asset Management Plan specifically sits within the Cabinet Member for Regen, Housing and Public Protection, and as noted in this report, the same update will be shared with the Cabinet following this committee. A full list of assets within the Council's portfolio has been provided in Appendix 3, and supporting me today we have Lisa Emerson, the report author, Chris Jones and Ian Goldsworthy. So I welcome any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from any member? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, is it me? Sorry. Is it you, Bill? Oh, is it me? It is me.
It
Sorry.
It is you, Lisa.
I lost my mic behind my laptop. I was going to use Councillor Davis's then. Apologies. Can I just ask, just going back to page 6 of the main body of the report, within the financial year 23-24, it just mentions the demolition of Ysgol y Graig, and really just wondered where we were with regards to Ysgol y Graig as an asset, when demolition and when that is likely to now be, happen. And 2, are we any further forward with regards to potential future use of Ysgol y Graig? And then I have another question, Chair, if that's okay.
Hi, Lisa. I'll take the demolition first.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, so ecology is the bane of our lives at the moment. So we're waiting ecology reports and things like that. We're hoping we can get all that sorted, and we're hoping to get it started towards the end of the year, probably January. Looking to get it started. I say we're looking to get a contractor on board, but that's where we are at the moment. See, the ecology is delaying us.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Chris. No future aspirations for the site yet with regards to outline planning or anything?
So at the moment, it's being considered as one of our self-build Wales schemes. So planning are looking at including it within that scheme. So that's something they're working on at the moment.
Great, thanks, Lisa. I think that'll be welcomed just because of the infrastructure there, you know, and the access to the site. So I think having a self-build scheme there, as was discussed a couple of years ago, would be really good. And then just when you go to the appendices, just with regards to, bear with me a second, L0, oh, it's easier to say, 10 and 10B, land behind my Squin housing estate. Just with regards to the changing rooms there, obviously we mothballed our field a good number of years ago now. So the land, I guess, is talking about Teddington's field, yeah? That's the land, I think, that it mentions. And then with regards to the changing rooms, any vision to just demolish that, you know, with regards to that area, because it is literally just an empty, you know, derelict building.
Can you repeat the asset number for me, please?
Yeah, I tried to, my screen went up. Page 21, I think it is on my screen. The asset number is L0010 and then L0010B01. I think the land lease is Teddington's field, and I think the changing room is the dormant changing rooms that are there, you know, that have been sort of derelict for some time now.
Okay. I don't know the answer offhand.
No worries,
I need
okay.
to go back and check with the caseworker. So
Yeah.
can I come back to you on that?
Yeah, I was just thinking that, you know, I know the roof is in a bad state to repair there. I think it may just be an idea that if we can consider future costing of it, to demolish it, because it is of no use anymore. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Councillor Gareth Richards.
Thank you, Chair. Very similar question to Councillor Lisa Mittens. We've got a mothball field in Quakers Yard, the wine field, and again there's quite a derelict changing room which is still in situ. I know requests were made by the local youth football club to utilise it, but I think the answer given then, it was in such a terrible state it wouldn't stand being moved from site. So if you could look into that one, Lisa, as well, please. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Lee Davis.
Thanks, Chair. Similar, but mine's already been demolished. So the old site for the old Gwaenfawr Baths, well, Goitre Lane itself from Sycamore Road all the way down, obviously, it's a route to school. It's covered in fly tipping again. It's constantly fly tipping over the back of Hawthorne Avenue, Chaseview Flats. I have reported it. It is a steep bank. It will be difficult to remove, but it doesn't seem to be anything done with it, and it's just getting fly tipped all the time. So good luck at that. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Smith, you had a question?
Yes, I have a number of question. I didn't know how much funding and property we assets we got to use as the local authorities. And the last 2 or 3 Thursdays now, we've had a local development plan subcommittee meetings. And perhaps it's worth this committee, I want to talk to the planning department to look what on board, what people have put planning applications in to use. Because Lee just mentioned something for Gwaenfawr. He's already got a plan. They haven't got a plan issue, but they've got a planning rule to go there for houses. So that because the committee knows for the assets and what we've got in planning, perhaps we'll take it to the next step. Because we got the Greenie, we know the big issue with the Greenie over there top. The local football team are put a bid in to take it over. So I don't know where we go with certain issues, and it's worth this committee having to discuss what we got on site and what we're talking at the present moment. Because we've got land and building ready to go, and it's worth knowing. Thank you, Chair.
Right. Now then, are there any more questions? Yep. Go on, Lee.
Thank you, Chair.
Oh, Gareth.
Really, obviously, the list of assets we've been presented with relates to all the assets the council owns, some in use and some which could be as land, which Lee and Bill have pointed out. In the future, obviously, not immediately, could we be provided with assets which are in the council ownership, but they're not being utilised for anything? They're just vacant, perhaps pieces of land? Could that be separated out and presented to us as a committee at some point in time?
Yeah, certainly. We hold information in our asset management system.
Yeah.
So we categorise if properties are vacant or if they surplus to our requirements.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can certainly run off a schedule of all those for you to look at. And the bulk of the property that forms part of our property review exercise.
Yeah.
So we constantly sort of reviewing all those surplus properties with a view to, you know, developing or disposing of them to raise capital receipts where we can.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Just for Chris and Lise, just going back, I may have confused you because Ysgol y Graig comes up twice, just for you to know. So it comes up further on down on page 39 under the former old building. I think I'm reading it right. So just in case, just to let you know, I think it's duplicated there, and there may be a very valid reason for that. The other thing I was going to ask was, with regards to L0650, which is on page, I think it's page 38, Trevechan Nursery. It's easier to say Trevechan Nursery. Just two things. One, with Trevechan Nursery, any news on reuse of that site? I know I was looking at trying to get Flying Start in there, but the fabric of the building is so outdated now that I know that, you know, it would cost us an arm and a leg really to bring it up to current standards. So I was just wondering if there was any ideas on what that site could be reused for or sold even for, with permitted use around it, I guess, just with regards to some concerns residents have in Trevechan. And then lastly, on page 34, L0449, this one's tickling me, so this is quite a funny one. It says land adjacent to number 1 South Terrace. Is that the small triangle parcel of land at the top of South Terrace? Any idea? Do you want to come back to me on that one?
Yes, I'll need to on that one.
Thanks,
With the Trevechan one, I will double check, but I think education have asked to hold on to that for the moment, so whether they're considering something. But I'll double check that and get back to you as well.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah,
with regards to South Terrace, the reason I'm giggling, right, is because I've always cleared that area with the help of the Gurnus Men's Project, because my understanding for years has been that Gareth Gwenlyn, who's now passed away, the famous producer of Only Fools and Horses and Dad's Army and everything, who was a Kevin boy originally, by the way, owned that piece of, the family owned that piece of land. So I was quite surprised to see that it's registered as our asset, and I can't think of any other parcel of land there that could be. So if we could just double check on that, because if we do own it, I may be knocking on your door for some help there. So thanks, guys. Thanks, Lise.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got maybe a stupid question, but I thought I'd ask it. Is in relation to Appendix 2? Could you, obviously it's colour coded, and I couldn't find within the report the reasons for the colour coding, obviously red, green and amber, but could somebody give an outline of that colour coding in there?
Yeah, certainly. Sorry, this is the action plan that is included in the corporate asset management plan, and it is explained in there. Apologies, I didn't repeat it here. Essentially, the actions that are coloured red are our highest priority ones, and they tend to be more corporate sort of actions. The amber are medium priority ones, and the green ones are lower priority, or they're more procedural things rather than you know, sort of higher priority corporate sort of strategic things then.
Yeah. Thanks.
Any more questions? But we come to comments in a minute, but our two lay members have sent me one late last night and one this morning, a list of questions, and I promised to ask them. So I'll ask Claire Payne's questions first of all, and they are as follows. Page 9, who is the asset management champion? Is this referring to one or more persons? If there's more than one, that could weaken responsibility or cause confusion over who is responsible. Yes, please.
Yeah, so in the asset management plan, it sets out that the asset management champion is the portfolio member and sits on the asset management board.
So it's just the one, just to answer the question.
Yes,
There's
just
nobody
one.
else.
Yeah,
Yep.
just one. So at the moment, it'll be Jamie Scriven.
Okay,
Scriven, yeah.
thank you. And again, it's still on page 9. It says page 9 is a completed action regarding refit energy efficiency, but this is still red. Why? I presume is that for you, Ian?
Probably for me. So back to the question we just had on the colour coding. So the red, amber, and green, they're just our priority, our high, medium, and low priority actions. And so one of our high priority actions has been completed, essentially.
More.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't got the actual report.
Right, Court Mill Road. Okay. Page 12. It says, again, item is marked as completed. That's the recommendation of the internal audit reports, but is marked red.
Exactly the same again. They're our priority actions, and therefore it's been completed.
Okay. And one last one from Claire, page 19. In terms of compliance data, what risks are those below target posing to the local authority, and what is in place / plan to improve the 2 areas? What is the rationale for 85% compliance target when anything below 100% carries a risk to people, finances and reputation?
I think the 85% was a reasonable figure we saw at the time. Obviously, we will be looking for 100% wherever possible, but sometimes we just can't. We're reliant on other people to do things, and we're waiting on other things, but that's why the 85% came from. But yeah, we are looking to improve all our compliance figures. Well, the majority of our compliance figures going forward. As for example, our asbestos, we're looking to get that to about 100% this year. Electrical and the gas, we've been let down by contractors, but we've got new contractors in place. We've just done procurement exercises on both those with Blaenau Gwent, so we're looking at those now. So yeah, we're looking to improve on all compliance going forward.
Which includes Legionnaires, because that was about 30-odd%.
Legionella's, we're looking at, we got 98% compliant from last year.
Right.
So we're looking to improve that again. Most of our figures have improved from the benchmark figures. So we're looking to keep the improvement going. It's following the audit.
Yeah.
So we're looking just to keep it and keeping on top of things.
Okay. Now to the questions from Gary. He's got 4 here. First one. I note that the Deputy Chief Executive takes responsibility for asset management. Who will assume this responsibility when he retires? I'm asking this so that we may be satisfied that there is a smooth handover and there is continuity. Yeah.
There's a structured report that's going to deal with that next council chair. So obviously it's subject to council views, but I've got a view, but obviously that needs to come to a report in council.
Right. Thank you for that. Second question. In paragraph 6.1, the author mentions a significant increase in the floor area of property within condition ratings C and D. The author must assume that we are still all familiar with these ratings, but I am not. What do ratings A to D mean? And what is the significance and implications for the authority for any properties in the C and D ratings?
Yeah, apologies. I should have put a reference in the report. So A is very good condition, B is good, C is satisfactory, but D is poor. So we are trying to move all our C and D condition properties into either A or B.
Right, okay, thank you for that. Paragraph C.1 again, has the upgraded asset management software system been installed and have all the relevant officers been trained in its use? If it hasn't, what are the projected timescales for installation and training?
So we have an existing asset management system in place where everybody has been trained. The system is actually being discontinued, so we have to move to a new cloud-based system. We've been out to procurement and we now have a project plan in place to migrate over to the new system. Because of the capital accounting issues and the dates that the accounts have to be closed, we won't be able to go live until May, possibly June. But all the training and migration will be done in advance of that. So some of the consultations are taking place with relevant officers at the moment, and training will start after Christmas.
Thank you for that. This is the last one. In paragraph 6.1, the author makes reference in 2 sentences to the lack of capacity and resources in the property services, maintenance, stroke compliance team. But it is not clear what additional resources may be required and how this can be addressed. Again, what are the risks and implications for the authority if additional resources are not allocated? Perhaps the committee should ask for a report on this matter. If such a report is requested, I may have to declare my interest and not participate in any debate, as I have a member of my family working in that department.
So we've done an internal exercise to look at capacity around maintenance. So we have the data available, and we'd be more than happy to bring that information to another committee meeting.
No, I think Lisa summed it up there, yeah. So we've got the information, we're just looking, we've done the baseline surveys, a lot of information's come back, so we're looking best how to manage that going forward.
Okay, thanks. I've got a few questions. On page 6, under the heading, it relates to 23 financial year. Going down to the Trey Harris Library at $750,000. Are we anywhere near finishing that refurbishment?
No, we've literally haven't long started it. We've had a lot of issues with ecology, CADU, etc. So it's obviously a listed grade 2 listed building. We'll do a lot of that. There was a lot of planning conditions put in, but we've come to that. We're on site and we're working towards it.
Okay. And how long do you think it would be before it's completed?
Can I come back to you on that? I'll have to.
3 weeks.
Sure.
Yeah.
43 weeks.
Yeah, it's Chris Evans is dealing it from our side, so I did check with him, but 43 weeks sounds
There we
good.
are. Thank you. Councillor Richards, there's the answer. Okay, thanks. Going back to Appendix 1, there's a few on there. Can't find them. Well, there's one, it's under paragraph 11. That's the one about pursuing SALEX funding for energy schemes. And it says we're looking at SALEX scheme for the former leisure trust sites with an estimated capex of £500,000 and annual energy savings of 62,500. Do you think that we are going to be successful in the near future with claiming the £500,000?
Yeah, I'll take that one. With the SALEX funding, we met with the commercial manager last week, and we've been speaking to finance, and they're on board with the SALEX scheme. The £500,000 was a provisional figure. We've actually got additional quotes, and we've gone out to tender on some of the projects we're looking at, and it's actually come out in half of that, so around £250,000, which is good news for us. So I say, as far as I'm aware, the scheme is going to be going ahead. With the refit scheme, the original refit schemes, we did a large number of our buildings. We improved the LED lighting, the BMS, put renewables on, so they're in a much better condition from an energy efficiency point of view. And I say hopefully by next year, a lot of the leisure trust sites that are passed over to us will be in a similar position, and they'll be using a lot less energy, which is good.
Good. Thank you, Ian, for that. Next one is item 13, as it says, to increase the number of buildings linked to the central building management system. And then the right-hand side, it says, to date, we have 50 of our buildings connected to a central building management system. How many other buildings have we got to go before we get the number completed?
Yeah, I would say 90% of our buildings are now linked to the building management systems. Really, the only remaining ones are the large schools. For example, the new Blessed Carlos Acutus, the new Pendry refurbishment, and there's 1 or 2 primary schools. In terms of like some of the other buildings, like a changing room, for example, the investment in the BMS compared to the energy costs it just doesn't make financial sense to do that. So I say we're around 90%, 95% there.
Okay, thanks. And item 14 says setting up an installation of systems link web module, allowing budget holders and head teachers better visibility of energy and energy cost data. I note that's marked completed, and in the comments on the right-hand side, it's disappointing to see, I quote, unfortunately, majority of schools are not utilising the portal to monitor manager energy use and budgets. The Director of Education informed, and further engagement work planned for the next 3 months. As I say, I think that's, as a school governor, I'm disappointed to see that. The system's there, but they're not using it. Do you happen to know any particular excuses why it's not being monitored?
Not really, no. We carried out the training over a 12-month period. We visited nearly all the schools, spoke to the school clerks, the head teachers. And I suppose I think of a school as a business. You know, you've got lots of outgoings. You need to manage your budgets, and each school should know how much energy, kilowatt hour they're using every year, so they can manage it. Are they using too much? Have they improved? And at the moment, we're not quite there on that. The energy team are pushing as hard as we can, but we do need some additional support from education. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame, really.
So you've had prior discussions with the Director of Education to see how that can be improved.
Yeah, yes, I have. Yeah, the one thing that the Director of Education mentioned was doing something in the school governors meeting, actually putting it on an agenda item that they'd be reporting on their energy usage compared to previous years, so it can't be overlooked.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Ellis.
Chair, just to come in on the back of that, so we're looking to support schools in every way we can in terms of managing their budget. So this would be one angle, along with initiatives like best procurement, and so wherever we can help via the schools budget forum and the heads forum. Obviously, that information has been supported. Any way we can support schools to manage the budget better, we'll be pursuing that.
That's good to know, Ellis. Thanks. Yes. Ask any questions? No. If not, comments from anyone?
It's following on what your question really, that I'm pleased to see that the actual substantive work now is taking place on Treharris Library, and we'll restore it to its magnificence that it originally was built with, the stained glass windows, etc. I want to thank Chris Jones and Chris Evans for giving me a monthly update so far on the project. That's why I knew it was 43 weeks. And also the library contains our war memorial, which is a clock in Treharris. That's away being refurbished. I think it's already been refurbished by Smiths in Walsall. But people keep asking me, is it going to be back for Remembrance Day? But as I've explained to them, and quite rightly, until it's all refurbished, it's a bit pointless putting the clock back because it could be damaged in the refurbishment work. And that's why the 43 weeks, I think, is August 2025. So thank you.
Any other comments? If not, take you to the recommendations, which are on page 5. 221, Scrutiny Committee consider the updates on the action plan and the key performance indicators and raise any issues or queries as necessary. And 2.2, the Scrutiny Committee note the current property asset list, total asset value, and use this information to help plan budget and priorities in the future. Are you all happy that we accept those recommendations? Yes? Okay. Thank you very much. Can I thank the officers who attended for that item? You're welcome to stay for the next one if you want. Right, we go on to the next item, which is the item 4, sickness absent reporting. To consider the attached report, pages 57 to 66. Anna?
Thank you. This report provides information on sickness absence within the council over the past 5 years and provides specific detail on the number of working days lost. It recognises that staff sickness, if not managed correctly, can be very costly, and it also highlights the wellbeing initiatives and processes in place to support staff, both whilst in work and those on sickness absence. Supporting staff is key to our wellbeing objectives. As stated, 66% of our workforce live within the county borough, so there is a clear link to the overall health and wellbeing of residents, and we have a responsibility to be a supportive employer in this regard. Available to support today and answer questions is Sean Jones and Beth Jones from HR, as well as Hannah, the head of HR, who is the report author. I'm happy to answer any questions on this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Bill.
Chair, I read this report and seen the absence and all of a sudden the percentage is all together. Can we cut the percentage in half for male and female to find out the percentage of staff that's on sickness? Because everybody's got a problem with sickness. Some got different issues, some got bigger issues, some are long term, short term. So can we have a breakdown on sickness overall? How many male and female of?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. We haven't included the breakdown because obviously sickness is very sensitive, and the more we break it down, the more we could expose some cases where we sort of need to keep confidential. We have had a look at the male and female percentage breakdown of sickness. So we have, we can share this with you in an email, if it's easier. But we have a sort of gender head count of males being 23% and females being 77%. And when you break that down into the absence rates, obviously we have a higher proportion of our workforce, being females. So when you have a look at the absence rates, it does indicate that there is higher sickness levels in females, but that is generally down to the fact that we have a higher proportion of our workforce as females. So I can certainly share the absence rates per year over that 5-year period in a male and female breakdown, if that would be helpful for you.
Thank you.
Councillor Lee Davis.
Thanks, Chair. I can't remember what page it's on, but it mentions that there's some initiatives for remaining in work rather than being on sick. Could you give us some examples? And do you have any incentive, say, for 100% attendance for the year?
So we obviously, the aim is to support our staff as much as we can, whilst they may be going through a variety of different reasons why they might need to be absent. If there are reasons that we support staff to remain in work, then that could be through our occupational health service. So that's not just open for staff that have gone off on sick, but if staff are struggling and need a referral, then we can do that. So they would visit the occupational health advisor. They would have support through that. If the individual allows, then a report can be given to the line manager, and then we can look at what perhaps reasonable adjustments we need to make to ensure we can support the staff. We also have employee assistance programs, which you might remember used to be Care First, but we changed provider a couple of months ago to VivUp. So that gives, sort of 24-hour service where we can recommend staff to go, and use that sort of counselling support plus other support. So, we've offered workshops through some providers, which might help with sort of mindfulness. We've done menopause type sessions, a variety of different things that can support staff to try and prevent them from going off. In terms of any incentive, I'm not sure that we have anything incentive to sort of get staff to stay in work.
Yeah,
that's something that we could.
Well, before I worked in third sector and public sector, I worked in industry, and that was something that we used to use. You'd have vouchers or whatever it would be and it was popular with everybody that if I get 100% attendance, I will remain in work. Rather than you might be on a cusp of shall I go in or not go in. So
yeah, we did talk as well as we've been reviewing this about is the terminology absence rates negative. So maybe perhaps looking in the future of attendance rates rather than absence rates could be deemed to be more positive, and then we could then maybe put something towards that. Do you want to come in?
I suppose sometimes we have a bit of difficulty sort of attaching reward to attendance, because we could be seen to reward staff to come into work, but it may be that staff may have long-term conditions that may prevent them from coming to work. So when we've had conversations with unions before, it sometimes can be seen negatively. So we have to keep that in mind, that when we're rewarding attendance, it could be out of someone's control when they're on sick, because they might have a long-term medical condition that obviously comes under the Equality Act, and we can't be seen to reward staff and not give the same opportunities to others as well.
Okay.
It's just something for us to consider.
Okay. I got another question, if that's okay, Chair. In terms of people in high stress jobs, could be like teachers, social services, if they're dealing with cases that are sensitive and they're challenging, how do you check if they're getting supported via their mental health? You know, obviously it could be up to the line manager, but you know, the line manager might not be doing that. Do you check in with them? Because you know, some people are dealing with some serious cases in our workforce. Is that something you look at?
I believe social services have, you know, a robust process in place for that sort of support for people like social workers, etc. I suppose from a corporate perspective, we would need the manager or the individual to contact us, you know, if there's particular, you know, situations that we need to get involved in. I think there have been some cases where there have been things that have affected staff well-being. So it might not necessarily be an individual, but it could be sort of something that a team is experiencing, and then obviously it would get then referred to us for some support. So yeah, we have had those interactions in the past.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Lisa Mitten.
Thank you, Chair. Just referring to page 60, the tables actually unknown and specified. I'm so pleased now that for 2024-25 that's going to change, because I guess it's always a difficult one for you guys as well in how you can support staff if it is, you know, not disclosed necessarily, and some things don't need to be disclosed, but there was quite a high number of unknown and unspecified, wasn't there? So I'm pleased to see that. With regards to the coding then, I guess, of what they'll come under now, I imagine it'll just come under the current HR codes you've got for perhaps some of those stress related. I think we made an assumption in 4.9 that they could have been mental health, awaiting diagnosis, etc. So they'll fall under some of those other coding areas now, will they, or are there any new ones being introduced?
Yeah, go on.
We've worked with our health and safety principal officer to adhere to the health and safety code for sickness, so they will be at a higher level. So if they do come under those specific categories, we obviously work with our manager then to put support in if there is a specific need within that category at that high level.
Great. Okay.
One of the other things just to add to that is we've detailed in the report about the work that Sean's team is doing to have better case management of sickness. So whereas in the past maybe staff have been on sick with just manager support only, we've changed that over the last couple of months since Sean's been in post, and has highlighted really the need for HR to be involved in those areas. So I think with a closer monitoring of case management, we're then perhaps able to understand more of the detailed issues to put those mechanisms in place to support staff back into work more quickly.
Great.
So probably having a sort of HR view allows us to do reasonable adjustments, or to be perhaps more aware that there could be things we could put in place, and that member could come back a lot sooner than just managers dealing with that.
Yeah. Great. Okay, thank you. And then sticking to the same page, obviously then we have a lot of non-work stress related non-work stress, depression or anxiety related instances, and they've featured in every year really, and I can imagine and I can see the reasons why we're considering that perhaps they have increased because of cost of living crisis and you know other reasons. The menopausal support that I've seen, even as a counsellor myself, and I did mention this in our pre-meet, I thought is fantastic, I have to say, because the awareness of that, you know, has now increased. And I think that is really good that you're supporting, you know, the female staff that we have. Just out of curiosity, there's a lot of stakeholder support, partnership support that's happening within the Merthyr Tydfil Borough, like Andy's Men's Club, thank you. And another women talking in Dowlais Community Centre. You know, there's a lot going on. I did see that a number of my colleagues went to the Men's Mental Health Day at the Community Centre yesterday, of which I'm a trustee at. So that is fantastic. But do we do more to share that internally with staff, not just on our social media platforms, or could we do more to share those things? Because sometimes perhaps we don't want to go where our work colleagues are, but we want to go to something that perhaps is nearby, happening in a local football club or a local community centre, where, you know, I may be able to go and seek that additional support, not necessarily through my employer, but my employer has shared it. So I'm just wondering whether we could do, if we don't already, please excuse my ignorance if we do, but if we don't already.
Yeah, we do try and do a lot of promotional elements, you know, linking in with well-being, linking in with the qualities. So, you know, we try to do that. If we're aware of it, then we're happy to promote it. We try to produce a sort of calendar. So if we know in advance, then we can set that as part of our sort of forward plan to know that we're going to be able to support and promote that. And obviously we work closely with Kerry's team, that if there's anything that comes through that, you know, we can make sure that internal communication goes out. But if there is anything that members are aware of that perhaps we can't, then we'd be happy to have that and promote that in our usual ways.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was just mindful really of the presentation we had in full council last week, you know, and I did say, and I think all colleagues agreed, that we as local members need to take responsibility to share things as well. But I just think it is an opportunity for us to capture what's happening out
in the
there,
community.
you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Chair.
Okay, before I call in Councillor Gareth Richards, I can't determine from the figures that you've got on page 60 how many instances do you have of mental ill health across the authority. You know, mental ill health covers a very wide spectrum, depression, anxiety. Following on from Councillor Mitton's question, are there any organisations that we specifically use in the authority who would be, and it would depend from one individual to the next, as to be the appropriate support that they need if they're off sick with mental ill health?
So those referrals come through occupational health. So once they've had that appointment, a lot of the role of the occupational health advisor is to signpost to various organisations that can be relevant to where the person lives or to what they're experiencing and the reasons behind that. So, you know, that sort of particular, you know, support would be very much individual. But again, you know, we would support through our employee assistance programme anybody that perhaps didn't go through that occupational health and wanted some further support, you know, that could be given through that.
So it comes from occupational health. So is it the occupational health nurse, I presume, makes the referral to whichever organisation he or she feels they should be referred to?
It would be for the individual to, you know, use the information that they had through the occupational health nurse to, you know, contact supporting organisations to help them with their condition.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Richards?
My question is in relation to the chart or table at paragraph 4.1. The comparison of Merthyr with the other unnamed authorities. Are the measures that are used by the other authorities the same as ours, or do they include perhaps things that we don't include, such as teaching staff, for example?
Yeah, so when we had the brief of the scrutiny report, we checked, and it was just for the corporate side and our corporate sickness policy. So we haven't included schools. So apologies if that wasn't clear in the table, but having done some, contact with other local authorities, their absent rate does include schools as well. So it probably doesn't look, as it should. It sort of stands out a little bit. But yeah, ours is just corporate.
Yeah. So some of those others may be schools.
Schools, they do
included,
include schools, yeah.
Okay. And can I have a supplementary, Chair? Slightly different. I think our target is 3%, is it? Yeah. How was that determined? Is that a national figure, or is it something we determined locally? I can't remember how.
I have been told, obviously, I've only been working at Merthyr Council for 7 years, but I have been told that it's historic and it's probably been there for about 20 years. So in all honesty, I'm not entirely sure where that target has come from. However, it is in line with other targets that other local authorities and public sector, have had. So I think that is why it's in there. Again, I think if we are going, I think we need to be clear about what we're reporting in the future, because if it does include schools, it's probably a very unrealistic target. And I think that's perhaps something that we need to review. It's very unusual as well to have targets in a policy. And I think, the work that Beth's doing with the data team, where we're looking at sort of, data and how we can monitor that better, it might sit better in that and not as part of a policy. Yeah. So I think that's something that we can review as a result of this.
Like, my reason for bringing it up is pointless having a target which isn't going to be met.
Yeah.
And one which is more realistic, really.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, certainly. Go on.
Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Richards, just want to say I'm particularly alert to that. I think that historic target certainly does need review, particularly in line with our corporate wellbeing policy as well, and the health and wellbeing objectives in that. I think there's work to do there to make sure that those two are aligned and whether the target is still relevant. So thank you for that.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Lee Davis.
Thanks, Chair. I think it's mentioned in the report that agile working from home is probably, being a positive for sickness. Is it open to everybody, or is it down to the manager's discretion, the agile working policy?
It is service delivery led, so there are some services that can operate, agile, and then there are some that are not. That's why we particularly focused on, sort of a comparison in the appendix around the Directorate of Governance and Resources, which probably would lend itself better to agile working compared to neighbourhood services who are frontline, just to give some of those indications of, can we draw any conclusions around agile working? The data doesn't really tell us a lot around that. But I think, when you talk to service managers or even staff, sometimes I think, it can help our sickness, because it might be the fact that, somebody might have COVID, for example, they're not going to come into work, but they could work from home. So they don't actually need to have sickness. So I think, a lot of people would feel that it has been, of benefit that they do get the option that they can. Obviously, then there are some staff that can't do that.
Yeah, it's probably like twofold, whereas, they might not be able to do a full day, but they can do some work at home, which is better than nothing. Yeah. But also they're going to be coming in with illnesses that's going to spread to the rest of the office staff. Yeah. I was just a little bit concerned that, you've got open plan offices and you've got a couple of managers in there, and one might say, right, well, I want you in the office, and then, it just leads to bad feeling within teams then. So that's really the concern I wanted to raise.
Yeah, and we are reviewing, sort of agile working to make sure that, it is, still, you know, relevant for the services that are delivering it. I think you know, there is different services operating sort of a rota. I think you probably, you know, I think everybody probably feels that there are people, you know, coming in now more often, and they are on a rota, but they do have the flexibility then to work from home, because, you know, some staff would feel that there are certain tasks and projects, etc., that they can work on that is more conducive to a home, you know, than the office. So I think all of that, you know, is something that we just need to continue to review.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Any more questions? If not, I've still got a list of questions from the two lay members, so I'll deal with Claire Payne's questions first. And we might touch something that we've already asked, but here we go. Page 60, item 4.8. The report refers to non-work related stress, etc. And she says, yeah, what about work related stress? Why is this not a category reported against?
It is a category. It just hasn't fallen in the top 3 reasons.
Well, do you know what is it pretty low, work-related stress?
Do you want to?
We don't know the actual figures at the moment, but we can provide those following the committee. But as Hannah stated, the top sort of 3 reasons that we've seen for sickness hasn't had work-related stress come up. We do see it on the rise at the moment, but it's not concerning numbers. And obviously we're dealing with those through the appropriate mechanisms of referring to occupational health.
Okay, but if you have got access to the figures, I think the committee would be interested if you could extract those and send it to after the meeting, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
The next one, page 61, item 4.9, refers to use of this category for items that could be work-related stress, but is difficult to scrutinise the levels due to reporting. This has been removed, but what has it been replaced by? And does work-related stress, etc., now have its own category? Well, you've given that answer. At a previous committee meeting, I asked a question about the support provided for staff with non-work-related sickness. And if I remember correctly at that time, the provision, occupational health, etc., was only provided for work-related sickness. Is it possible for a person's non-work-related matters to not impact on work? So has this support now been extended to cover all mental health matters? It may incur costs, but overall could prove a cost-effective measure to the local authority by reducing days lost to sickness. It may also be useful to understand the breakdown of sickness in relation to operation and strategic functions to understand whether pressures and costs are occurring. I don't know whether you can remember all that question.
So I think the first part has already been answered in relation to the unknown, unspecified reasons. So obviously they are, you know, the reasons on there are part of the reasons from the Health and Safety Executive. In terms of the work-related stress, that is a category, but obviously it just hasn't featured in the top 3, so we can get that data. In terms of, I have forgotten the other. Yeah, in terms of what we do to support staff, then yeah, all staff, whether it's work-related, non-work related, and any other category. So for the stress related, that is an instant referral. For any other illnesses, that's referred after 4 weeks. So I think it has changed since that information has been given.
Yes, Anna.
Thanks. Just wanted to speak on that intersection between work-related and non-work-related stress, because I think it is important that we're mindful of it and ensure that staff feel that an environment where they can disclose if stress is work-related and ensure that's being recorded correctly, and similarly make sure that managers are suitably empowered and skilled to have those conversations with members of staff. So I think it's absolutely right to be raised and something we need to be mindful of.
Yeah, if I can just come in there, and I think that's where we can refer back to, you know, Sian's interventions with her team, is that by us closely managing and monitoring the sickness cases, we are able to sort of delve in a little bit deeper as to anything that's connected to stress. So, for example, a staff member, you know, might not have a sick note or might not have told their manager that it's stress. They could have some other symptoms, which, you know, through occupational health and other interventions, we might find that there is something going on in work that has resulted, you know, in them having some symptoms of something else. So I think all of that is really important, and Sian and her team, you know, are working really closely with managers now to make sure that, one, they are trained and supported to do welfare calls on a regular basis, to make sure that they know that they need to refer to occupational health, and to be aware that it is a line manager's role to do some of that signposting for extra support as well. So you know, I'm really confident that since Sian's been in post, we're doing a lot more sort of case management work to support managers and staff on that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lee Davis?
Following on for that, do we have staff who are mental health trained first aiders? And is there a list then available to staff so they might not want to contact somebody within their team? They might want to, you know, somebody they don't know they'd rather speak to.
Yeah, was it last year or the year before we did? Yeah, in 2023, we did a mental health first aider programme. We probably had about 8 or 9, was it? Is that?
It's dropped to about 6, and those details are found on the intranet page. So there's a specific occupational health intranet page for staff they can access whenever, and in there details who they are and how to be contacted. We also have an email inbox that people can email if they prefer to contact us that way, and the people that are trained are in different areas across the council.
Great. Will you look to run that programme again?
I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, if there is a need, obviously there is a cost to it, and we were able to get some funding previously through social services to pay for that. But I think, yeah, if it's seen as a organisational need, we can look at running that training again.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, this is the last question from Claire Payne. Observation from the report from page 65, there appears to be a trend with all or most of the non-work related sickness, which would have included stress, increasing year on year. How is monitoring of reasons behind this going to be reported in the future? Are there now set absence categories to reduce ambiguity?
Yeah, I think obviously we've covered off that, and I think through the case management we can delve deeper into what some of those non-work, you know, related stress, depression, anxiety areas are. Yeah, so I'm confident that we will work, you know, with especially when you break it down through different directorates, that we'll be working with you know, the directors, heads of service to identify any trends and any areas that we think need further investigation.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. So we're going on to Gary Thomas's questions. He's got 5 here, but I'm going to take out 2 and I'll explain the reasons as I go along. First one, I may have missed it in the report, but there doesn't appear to be any differentiation between long-term and short-term sickness. The main limitation of accrued absence rates is apparent. The time lost may consist of a small number of people absent for long periods or a large number absent for short periods. As a result, absent rates may be relatively stable over time, even though the number of staff absent may be increasing and the duration of absence falling and vice versa. The management of both long-term and short-term sickness present their own separate challenges. Would it be possible for the author to present information on long-term and short-term?
So I've got a bit of extra data at the moment. So at the moment, we've got 32 live cases across the council of long-term sick. We didn't include it in the report. I mean, we can do some extra analysis on that and potentially send that around. As I said at the start, I do get a little bit nervous in terms of how much sort of detail we go into it and the breakdown of that, because if we're breaking down long-term sick and short-term with reasons for directorates and areas, then what I wouldn't want is for anybody to be, identifiable. So I'm more than happy to go away and have a look at that data and see it to what level I could break that down if it's just high level, over the last year or so.
Okay, thank you for that. What do you determine as a period of time as long term? When does it start in your view in HR? Is it, I don't know, is it 4 months?
4 weeks.
4 weeks?
Yeah. So that's where then obviously the interventions come in from, HR with welfare checks, occupational health referrals, and, other support that might be needed for that individual.
Okay. But his second question we've had clarified. It's because he's saying here the information in the first table gives the impression that the authorities in the surrounding areas, I think there's the 9 other authorities, are not performing particularly well in response to their sickness rates. But we've had the answer earlier on that some of those authorities include schools.
Yeah.
So the next time we have this information, if we are going to be compared with other authorities, will ours include sickness in schools?
Yeah, we can include the sickness, within schools. I suppose the school sickness policy is different to the corporate one. So, we would need to look at how we could break that down in terms of, how that's managed as well. But we can certainly look at that.
Okay. Well, his third question, we've already dealt with it because he asked the question, does the Education Department include the school figures? So I'm going to pass over that. Next one is 7. I note what we need to do next, but it would have to be helpful to include some target dates in this paragraph. What are we going to do by when? What are we going to do by when, especially the publication of the data dashboard within HR, and to share this information with directors and heads of service?
Yeah, so as it says, we are looking at producing a data dashboard which will have the sickness information for corporate management team to review on a regular basis, as well as sharing with heads of service. So that is almost ready to go, and we'll be starting to look at that. And yeah, I mean, as part of that, then when we start to review it, I think that's when we can start to look at if there's any areas that need a targeted approach with some interventions around targets, reducing, I don't know, for example, if there was a particular area in one directorate, we might want to put some targeted interventions in place to deal with that. So I think, for the purpose of this report, it probably wasn't appropriate to add anything targeted in, but that is something that we're going to do through that data dashboard.
Okay. Last question from Gary Thomas. It's in Appendix 2. I note the information given in the case study, but would it be possible for the author to give the total number of employees in each area listed? What is the percentage rate of absence to consider alongside the number of instances? The number of instances in neighbourhood services would appear to compare favourably with social services when you look at the raw data. But it is difficult to understand exactly what this means without giving some context. I note the author refers to this as a case study. What happens next? How will this information be used?
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly do the total number of employees and do the percentage breakdown for each of the directorates. We can do that. I think what happens next is obviously reviewing some of that data as part of that dashboard we mentioned, and speaking with each director and heads of service to see, you know, based on those percentages, is there an area of concern, and what is it, and how do we support managers to manage their sickness within their areas.
Okay, thanks. That's finished now with the questions from Gary. I've got one, and that's in relation to the unknown stroke unspecified, which you've now taken out. So the next time when we see these figures, we hopefully will have a complete overhaul of and know where we are with exactly the types of sickness that individuals are suffering from. Now, I note this started in September 2023, so we're in October 24, so you've now got a 12-month of those figures. Is it possible for the committee to be sent, say, the full 12 months so that we can have a very good idea then of the overall sickness, absences from various departments?
Yeah, I mean, we could cut the data again. Obviously, we tend to do it per year, but yeah, we could run those reports to do from last September to this September.
That's great. Thank you for that. Are there any more questions? Anyone? No? Any comments from members? No? Well, can I say that, I think we've had quite an interesting number of questions for this item, and I'm sure that you take into account what members' questions and the lay members have posed, and hopefully all of that can be incorporated in the next report that we receive. How often do you, Hannah, envisage this type of report come into the Scrutiny Committee?
Well, obviously, since I've been in post, I've never been asked to bring a sickness report. But I suppose it, we could do a yearly report and include some of the data. I mean, other local authorities don't tend to do sickness reports at Scrutiny, but they're produced more as a sort of slideshow where the data can be presented perhaps in a more easier way to read. So whether it's just something that you feel that you can scrutinise to bring back to a committee, or is it something that you just want updates on as more of a dashboard type slideshow that would give you, that information?
Okay, I think we'll discuss that with the rest of the members after we've dealt with this report. And I mean, personally, I favour it being every 12 months because there is a cost to sickness absence, and I think we need to keep a careful eye on it. No other comments. Can I thank you all very much for your attendance, and I go through there it is here. Purpose of the report: 2.1 to provide an overview of the sickness absent data and reason for absence. 2.2 to ensure transparency and accountability within the council and allows us to understand the extent and impact of sickness absence on the workforce. And 2.3, the report helps in identifying trends and patterns in sickness absences, such as seasonal spikes, common illnesses, or departments with higher absence rates. This information is crucial for developing target interventions. Are you all happy that we've covered those recommendations? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, the next item on the agenda is the work programme. That's item 5. That's the forward work programme 24-25. You've got it there. It's 11 pages of it. Do you want to bring us to us any attention, Neil, on any matters?
Not really. I suppose. Nothing in particular to raise at the moment. I suppose, obviously, with the recent changes in chair and things, maybe it's just an opportunity to discuss whether in this scrutiny or outside in the planning session, where we go with the forward work programme, any changes, any additional items, etc. Then.
Are members happy with what we've got in front of us, planned for the next few meetings? Does anybody wish to add or include anything?
No. We discussed it and we're going to take it forward, and we all new members there something, so let's take it forward and I'm looking Christmas.
Okay, I'm happy with that. Item 6 was the scrutiny referrals, to consider referrals made to scrutiny for inclusion on the forward work programme. That has none been received. Item 7, report recommendations. Did we address the recommendation in each report and how we added value? Well, I think we had quite an interesting session of questions and answers. Are you all happy with the replies we had from officers? Yeah. Yeah, go on.
Just think, I'm just mindful, you know, with a couple of the asset management questions that we asked, and just as a board member of the Cyfarthfa Foundation as well, I'm just mindful, and I do appreciate ecology and bats and what have you, but I'm mindful that it forever delays structural issues that we have in the borough at a heavy cost to this council as well. And so, you know, whilst I understand why some of those delays are, it's nothing new to be dealing with bats, you know, it's nothing new to be dealing with cadwr, etc. And I think sometimes we're very reactive rather than proactive in what what our officers are managing. And it could be work caseload, could be a lot to do with it. Just one example I wanted to give, and I didn't want to bring it up today because I didn't think it was appropriate to bring it up today, but the tenting and scaffolding of Cyfarthfa Castle is one that's really close to my heart. And I have to say, I'm really concerned about the delay in doing that tenting and scaffolding. And for me, if I'm brutally honest, it's been one excuse after the other, not necessarily from our building team or our you know, planning team, but perhaps from an officer where their workload is too much for them to deal with everything. And that is delaying one of the most significant buildings, if not in this borough, in the Wales. Do you know what I mean? And so with regards to asset management, where I'm going with this, sorry, I do apologise, I'm going off on a tangent. Where I'm going with this is some of the excuses again were ecology and this, that and the other, but we knew about these things years ago, you know, to keep on saying that, I just think sometimes we've got to, the buck's got to stop somewhere. And so I think what we do need to do in the forward work plan is bring back some of those key questions that we had around the asset management plan, some of the things that Lisa was going to go back and provide information on, because we are delaying. We're also delaying receipt, you know, capital back into our budget, because what we're delaying is Ysgol y Graig, demolish, build, desperate homes, you know, but also some capital receipts there for us. What we're delaying is the foundation's aspirations for Cyfarthfa and the blast furnaces. Massive cost to this council, the maintenance with regards to that castle. Let's get it done. You know, so I just think we do need to bring that back to make sure that, you know, some of these things aren't delayed any further, and asset management isn't just a roll on year asset management tick box. I'm sorry to be so blunt, but
I agree with you completely, Lisa. I mean, how long is it since Ysgol y Graig was moved out to them? I mean, crikey, we must be talking at least, I don't know, 6 years, at least. Yeah, yeah, but and I know that there's got to be a gap then between when the decision is going to be made to demolish it. But I think that's a prime example of where we'd all agree building empty. They must have looked at it being used for alternative purposes. They've dismissed it. We heard today that's going to be demolished. And then they can't demolish it because they're waiting for some ecology reports. And I certainly hear what you say about the Carmarthen Castle. I'm not sure, but I will definitely make sure. But I think there's a report coming to council in November, I think, about Carmarthen Castle. Councillor Louise and I asked for made a visit to the museum last Friday at 4 o'clock. And it's a very interesting conversation with officers there. And clearly, all the museum staff from the curator down are concerned as to when work's going to be done there, because that's the only part of the building that's occupied, and it affects them.
Because undoubtedly I will be very vocal in that meeting in November if it is finally coming to us. But just to give you some insight, we had that report a year last July 2023. That scaffolding is supposed to be in situ right now and safeguarding that building. We were due to have another report in July of 2024, and I know that that was delayed, hence I guess that's the November report you're talking about. No movement on it. 18 months, you know, again, it's just not acceptable. But that's for another day, but it does concern this scrutiny and asset management as well.
Well, I've just had a quick chat with Neil. Yeah. Yes, the Carmarthen regeneration is coming to the Regen Scrutiny Committee. Do we know when?
I think it's November, yeah, December, November,
Oh,
yeah, something like that.
That's the next one, is it?
Yeah.
I should know, I got it in front of me. But in the meantime, Lisa, we got one of these technical meetings coming up in November, I think it is. The issue about the time factor of these buildings coming empty and then waiting for reports, which then go on for months, we will raise there, definitely. Okay? Yeah, so the next, is that Carmarthen coming up in November?
Yeah, they postponed it. I think it's just double checking now.
I think it's going to go on December. Move as tourism there, and Carmarthen Castle regeneration. Yeah, 3rd of December.
We'll have an opportunity there as well. Okay. Yes. Bill.
Right. Comments Lisa made now is right, because when we had a meeting with the local development plan, all that came in together, because the officers are scratching their heads, screaming, because the planning, not so much the planning, is the contractors and everything doing. So it's not news to them. They're working hard, like you said, right? But with Carmarthen Castle, I was told the major problem up there now is the roof, because they don't know where the rainwater is going to go. Because they're talking is if they put on what they want to do, they'll wash away all the gardens on the side, the drainage. So it's major issues up there. And they were up there last week, and they were drilling a hole in the school education part, and they found so many tunnels all over the place. It was shocking, right? Because the gardeners, I go up there for a walk every morning, right? And the gardeners tell me they found four tunnels up there. One over to Lakeside, and one day it was like, if there's a tunnel from there, going to the furnace site. Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah. Because the tunnel is still at the end of the lake. And that's checked every year. Nobody knew, do they? every year that tunnel is checked under the lake, but they found 4 tunnels there. So that so they are concerned just in case they mess about with the tunnels collapse on something.
What I'm saying is, we've known this for years, and yet we're still not safeguarding this.
No,
And
I agree
so,
with
you know what I
100%.
mean?
So
Yeah.
they're afraid because
Yeah.
tunnels are old
Yeah.
and the tunnels last longer those
Yeah.
days than they do now. So
Yeah.
that's why I've got to check up every time I go down there.
Yeah.
Well, we hopefully we'll have matters clarified in the next few weeks, but I completely agree with you. The delay is shouldn't have been taking this long there. Right. Report item 7 is the report recommendations. Did we address the recommendations, each report, and how we added value? Well,
Yes.
we all agreed with that. We've asked interesting questions. And item 8, feedback on scrutiny activities, any outstanding actions, feedback from workshops, task and finish groups, inquiry days. Where we've got a workshop report coming back from September.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, for the from the one-stop shop and
Yeah.
customer services. Yeah.
Is there anything else due to come back to us?
No, no.
Right. Leaves us with number 9. Any other business deemed urgent by the chair? I have none. Can I thank you all very much for attendance? Declare the meeting closed.